Want to know how to leverage culture to build a successful business? Then Butternomics is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Brandon Butler, founder and CEO of Butter ATL. And on Butternomics, we go deep with today's most influential entrepreneurs, innovators, and business leaders to peel back the layers on how they use culture as a driving force in their business. Butternomics will give you what you need to take your game to the next level. Listen to Butternomics on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, y'all? This is Questlove, and at QLS, I get to hang out with my friends, Sugar Steve, Laia, Fontigolo, Unpaid Bill, and we, at Questlove Supreme, like to nerd out and do deep dives with musicians and actors and politicians and creatives and people that we feel really deserve that attention. We learn, we laugh, we fall down rabbit holes. Listen to Questlove Supreme on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Suprema!
Hey, I'm Jack Beast Thomas, the host of a brand new Black Effect original series, Black Lit, the podcast for diving deep into the rich world of Black literature. Black Lit is for the page turners, for those who listen to audiobooks while running errands or at the end of a busy day. From thought-provoking novels to powerful poetry, we'll explore the stories that shape our culture. Listen to Black Lit on the Black Effect Podcast Network, iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's be honest, life is stressful. It's work, it's relationships, and the state of the world. But there's a way to bring that stress level down. Calm. It's the #1 app for mental wellness with tons of content to manage anxiety, promote concentration, and help you unwind. There's music, meditation, and more. Calm makes it easy to de-stress. You can literally do a 1-minute breathing exercise. Personally, I love the soundscapes. Nothing like a little rain on leaves to help soothe my nervous system. I've actually been working with Calm for a couple of years now, and I'd love for you to check out my series on reducing overwhelm. 8 short practices, quick relief. Right now, listeners of On Purpose get 40% off a subscription to Calm Premium at calm.com/J. That's CALM.com/JAY for 40% off. Calm your mind, change your life. 90 seconds could be the difference between saying what you mean or saying something mean. 90 seconds could be the difference between losing someone you love or showing someone how you want to love them. 90 seconds could be the difference in what the next 9 weeks or 9 months may look like. 90 seconds of sitting with the emotions in your body, allowing them to settle, will actually give you an awareness of what you're actually experiencing.
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
Jay Shetty.
Jay Shetty.
The one, the only Jay Shetty.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the place you come to become happier, healthier, and more healed. My name's Jay Shetty, and I'm so thankful to be back with you. Now, I recorded this theme for an episode of my Daily J on Calm. If you're not using Calm to find balance, to find meaning, to meditate and practice mindfulness daily, definitely check it out. And it inspired a longer episode over here. So there's a quote that I absolutely love from Viktor Frankl, the groundbreaking psychologist and Holocaust survivor. And the quote goes like this: "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Let me say that again. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Now, we've heard this principle probably a few times before. The idea that it's not about what happens to you, it's about how you respond. It's not about what's going on around you, it's what you're able to do with it. It's not about what the world throws at you, but what you decide to do with it. And if you think about it, if someone throws something at you, you have a choice. You can catch it, and almost make it a part of yourself. You can dodge it and allow it to flow past you, or you can catch it and throw it back to try and create pain on the other person's behalf as well. We always have a choice. But what happens is that as time goes on, as we get busier, as we reflect less, as we focus less on why these things happen, what's happening around us, and as we just feel more overwhelmed, we lose the ability to choose our response. And when we lose the ability to choose our response, we potentially lose our ability to, according to Viktor Frankl, have growth and freedom. Two things that I think are extremely important. Now, in the Daily J episode, I talked about an experience I had where I was driving home. It was a beautiful day. The sun was out and I was playing some awesome music. And then all of a sudden, a car came out in front of me, truly just cut me off by surprise. Like I was really scared that we were about to have an accident. I braked really, really hard. I could feel some anger because it was so, like, I can't tell you how close it was. And I really, really felt like it was, seconds apart, tiniest space from leading to a big accident, which not only would have affected me, but would have affected them as well. And I'm sure you've had this experience, right? I'm sure you've had this experience where someone cuts you off, something happens, maybe in traffic, you get really, really angry, and you're feeling this tension, you're feeling this stress, and you might even want to, get out and talk to the driver. Some of you may get really angry. And maybe you felt this before, and maybe you've acted on it. Now, I didn't act on it that day, but maybe you've acted on it. And I find that maybe you've acted on it. Maybe you've said something you didn't mean. Maybe you've made a comment that you didn't want to say. Maybe it was with your partner. Maybe it was with your child, right? Maybe your child was just annoying you and you said something that you wished you didn't say. And then after that, you regret it. You feel bad about it. It's not how you wanted to act. It's not what you wanted to do. But how do we stop that from happening? How many times have you had it where you got angry, passionate, aggressive, and said something you didn't want to, or did something you didn't want to because of the heat of the moment, because of the emotion you were feeling? And the emotion felt real in the moment, and it was. But you acted on it, and now you look back and think, I wish I never said that. I wish I never did that. And maybe some of you have this voice in your head before you go to bed saying, could have done that better, right? It could have been better. Now, neuroanatomist Jill Bolte Taylor describes something she calls response ability, meaning we largely have the ability to choose how we respond to what's happening in the outside world. And she says it helped her understand something called the 90-second rule. Now, I love this, and this is what this episode is about, this 90-second rule. Now, when I was driving and my brain sensed danger, my body released adrenaline, which is designed to help me focus and get ready for action. That's how I was able to avoid an accident. But after I took action, I still felt agitated because my emotions were triggered along with my survival instincts. And all the chemicals associated with those emotions take about 90 seconds to dissipate. As long as I didn't feed the emotion, if I stopped myself from amping it up further, then the chemicals would die down. On the other hand, if I'd started yelling and screaming, my brain would have released more anger signals and the feeling would have continued. So what changed for me is I took some deep breaths and allowed the chemicals and the feeling to pass, right? Now, as I dive into this topic, I want to be really clear. This isn't about avoiding emotions. This is about subverting those knee-jerk responses that don't represent the person we want to be. When we say or do things we later regret. This is about buying time so we can be more conscious and intentional, so that the action we do take aligns with our values and beliefs. So here's how I want you to think about it. What we're trying to do in this moment is we're trying to buy ourselves time so that we don't go and create more pain, so that we don't go and create more stress, right? If you catch something that someone throws at you and throw it back at them, it continues the cycle. If you catch it and make it a part of you, it continues the cycle. If you dodge it, you allow it to go past you, although it does have an impact on you. So how do we do that in a real life situation? 3 deep breaths take about 10 seconds. So in 90 seconds, we can take 27 deep breaths. This is a great number to count up to put it in your mind's eye. Count to 27 as you breathe in and breathe out. This 90-second rule allows you to understand that chemically, if you allow this to pass in 90 seconds, you have the ability now to truly choose how you respond. It's almost like for 90 seconds, you're controlled, you're influenced, you're going to act in a way that may not be you, that may not be aligned with who you are or what you prioritize or what you believe to be valuable. It's just 90 seconds. And so many of us give away amazing relationships, break or blemish partnerships, friendships, whatever it may be, because we don't want to wait 90 seconds. That's how I want you to think about it. 90 seconds could be the difference between finding a solution and losing a friendship. 90 seconds could be the difference between saying what you mean or saying something mean. 90 seconds could be the difference between losing someone you love or showing someone how you want to love them. 90 seconds could be the difference in what the next 9 weeks or 9 months may look like. 90 seconds of sitting with the emotions in your body, allowing them to settle, will actually give you an awareness of what you're actually experiencing. You may find that what was first anger is actually disappointment. You may find that what was first frustration is actually now angst. You may find that was once quite aggressive is actually a still and calm emotion. And when we're able to master those 90 seconds, we can actually cope better with surprises. Now, listen to this. If you prepared, next time you hear a surprise, something comes along and shocks you, let it settle for 90 seconds, because chances are your initial response won't be helpful. Now, this is different in a fight or flight situation, right? In the car accident situation, I'm happy that this kicked in and that I didn't have time for 90 seconds to think through this. Similarly, in a place of physical danger, it's great to avoid this. But when it comes to more mental, emotional challenges, this can save us a lot of headaches. 90 seconds could save you from ruining the next 9 weeks or 9 months of your life. 90 seconds could save you from ruining one of your best relationships. 90 seconds could protect you from reacting in a way that isn't aligned with who you are and who you want to be. Now, here's the way I want you to think about how to actually put the 90-second rule into practice. The first thing is set a timer. When you're going through something like this, set a timer and watch that countdown. It's almost like doing a plank. If you've ever done plank position in a workout and you know you've got 60 seconds, 90 seconds to do it, and you're just waiting there. You might be in pain. You might be sucking in your core and then trying to loosen it. You might be trying to cheat a little bit on the sides, but you're sticking it out for those 90 seconds. Treat it that way. Turn on a timer. Have a 90-second timer ready to go so that you know you're allowing the chemicals to go down naturally. Because chances are in those first 90 seconds, you call someone up, you tell them how it's going, you now exacerbate it, right? You start texting someone frantically, you now exacerbate it. So we're constantly extending our overwhelm. We're constantly extending our anxiety, extending our stress, advancing our pain, when actually we could deal with it in a much more healthy way.
Hi, I'm Essie Cupp, and I have spent the last 20 plus years knee-deep in politics and the news. I've covered some really tough subjects, from war to genocide to 6 presidential elections, way too much Trump. And you know what? I need a break, like a mental health break, from the news, from the triggering headlines, And I kind of suspect some of you listening out there might need a break too. So my new podcast is going to be just that. A fun and loose space where I talk to my famous friends and people I admire about all the stuff that consumes us when we're not consumed by politics.
I did not really rebel in the 60s. I had no sex in the 70s.
What?
I made no money in the 80s. So when true crime came along, I missed that trend too.
So many great guests are joining me, from Josh Mankiewicz to Larry Wilmore to Molly Jong Fast to Josh Gad.
I'm so excited that you have this platform, and I am just like hoping that I don't destroy the platform in its earliest stages.
Listen to Off the Cuff on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows.
What's up, y'all? This is Questlove, and at QLS I get to hang out with my friends, Sugar Steve, Laia, Fontigolo, Unpaid Bill, and we, at Questlove Supreme like to nerd out and do deep dives with musicians and actors and politicians and journalists.
We give you the stories behind all your favorite artists and creatives that you have never heard. I'm talking about stories behind their life journeys and their works of art.
I love QLS because of the QLS Team Supreme. They're like a second family to me.
If you're a fan of deep diving into music, everything, almanacking your musical history, and learning things about hip-hop artists and things you never thought, then you're a lot like me. But you're also a fan of Questlove Supreme.
One of the things I love the most about this show is that we get to learn from the masters. I look at being on this show as my graduate program in music.
Listen to Questlove Supreme on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Suprema! Hey, I'm Gianna Prudenti.
And I'm Jamae Jackson Gadsden. We're the hosts of Let's Talk Offline, a new podcast from LinkedIn News and iHeart Podcasts.
When you're just starting out in your career, you have a lot of questions, like how do I speak up when I'm feeling overwhelmed?
Or, can I negotiate a higher salary if this is my first real job? Girl, yes.
Each week, we answer your unfiltered work questions.
Think of us as your work besties you can turn to for advice.
And if we don't know the answer, we bring in experts who do, like resume specialist Morgan Sanner.
The only difference between the person who doesn't get the job and the person who gets the job is usually who applies.
Yeah, I think a lot about that quote. What is it? Like, you miss 100% of the shots you never take?
Yeah, rejection is scary, but it's better than you rejecting yourself.
Together, we'll share what it really takes to thrive in the early years of your career,
without sacrificing your sanity or sleep.
Listen to Let's Talk Offline on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
The next thing is take a moment to do what I call an internal weather report, right? Where's it feeling cloudy? Where's it feeling rainy? Remember, we're not avoiding our emotions. We're feeling them. We're letting them be there. We're just not acting on them. That's the difference, right? We're just not reacting. We're allowing time to go past so that we can respond. If you act straight after experiencing something, that is a reaction to what happened. If you allow the 90 seconds to pass, you now received it, and now you're responding. I think another great tool is to check in with your body. It's asking yourself, what's going on in my body right now? What am I thinking about? Right? How am I feeling? You're almost learning to observe your body and mind. This also allows us to not make it personal. Often the reason why we react so frantically, aggressively, passionately is because we take everything very personally. These 90 seconds allow for you to not make it personal and just observe yourself experiencing these emotions. And especially notice the physical and mental emotions you experience. A lot of us don't realize when we pretend like we're not experiencing anything, it actually gets stored in the body. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want stress to get stored in the body. I've already mentioned inhaling and exhaling can actively relax tense areas of the body and mind. And this is probably one of my favorite ways. Noticing and naming the emotion is a really important thing. I found that being able to label how you feel, especially things that come about more often than others, is a really healthy way. Like, for example, I know that before I go on stage, I often feel nervous, but I call that my stage nervousness. I know that that's my anxiety that I'm experiencing because I care about what's happening. So I've labeled it care anxiety. Anxiety for when I care. People always ask me, Jay, do you still get nervous before you go on stage? And I say, yes, always, because I care. I get nervous when I care. So when I get nervous now, I know it means I care, and I've labeled it that way. And that way I know that I'm safe because I care about what I'm doing. I believe in what I'm doing. And that's a beautiful thing for me to remember. It's the same feeling, but the labeling has helped me understand it differently. And I want you to think about how you can label your emotions differently as well. Now, notice how these 90 seconds require a lot of stillness. If you're driving fast, you can't spot anything on the road. You may miss a sign. You may miss the animals in the field. You may miss a billboard. When you're driving fast, you miss everything. When we're moving fast, when we stay busy, when we ignore these 90 seconds, we keep moving fast, you will miss so many signals from your body. Every day, we miss so many signals from our body. Every day, we miss so many signals from our mind. Because every day, our body and mind is trying to protect us, trying to help us, and trying to encourage us to learn. But we miss out on all of that because we're moving fast. Because we're moving at a pace where we believe we can't slow down. And for this 90 seconds, when you choose to just slow down for 90 seconds, you stop yourself reacting from a fast car. And instead, you learn to respond in slow motion. It's almost like when you're in slow motion, you can actually see things for what they are. Right? If you're driving slowly, you can see what's in the distance.